Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sharpened Blade, you can call me Mike, and today I'm going to give you a little overview of the Sharp by Design Apex. I've had this for a few days now. I've been carrying it ever since I got it. There's a few things I don't like about it. They're not really that big an issue though, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So, starting off, might as well just start with everyone's favorite thing, or at least my favorite thing, the action. Reverse flick on this bad boy is fantastic. Very smooth. Drop on it. Front flipper works pretty good too. Drops to your thumb. Shake it closed. Really nice action on this. There's quite a few different options for this knife. I don't know if they're still available or not, but they'll be available on the secondary, I'm sure. So first off is the handle options. So this is the gray and blue. It comes in black and red as well. The black is the gray part and the red replaces the blue. So I got this because I prefer blue, and I almost got the black and red because it did look pretty cool, but I just like blue too much. And also I was afraid of scratches showing up really bad on the black. So I went with this one. And I'm pretty happy with it. Next up, there's different blade shapes. This is the drop point blade shape. I'm going to focus there. But also comes in a Tanto with a compound grind. I went with this shape because I prefer drop points over Tantos. And overall, I feel like the drop point kind of fits the flow of this knife a little bit more, but that's just personal preference. There is a nice little swedge on here, so that's nice. Adds a little bit of extra flair to it. And then it also comes in S90V or Damasteel. I got the S90V, obviously, and it's a nice satin finish. I like this. I don't really like a hand satin finish. I'm just afraid of scratches on the blade too much, so I prefer just a regular belt satin, I guess. So that's why I went with this one. And then the final option is the deployment method. So this one is a front flipper, but you can also get it just a traditional flipper, like a regular flipper tab. Now, I prefer a regular flipper. I really I have a very strong dislike for front flippers. But the reason why I got this one is because I figured I would mostly be reverse flicking anyways. But in any picture I saw of this knife, the flipper tab on the regular flipper version kind of cuts into the grip area a bit. Maybe it doesn't, but in the pictures it looked like it did, and judging by where the blade ends here, I'm thinking it probably would have come into here a bit. So for the sake of ergos, I went with the front flipper version, which I'm really happy, because if it did cut into it, it's a long enough handle, and I'll get into specs in a second, that I would have room to kind of come back a little bit, but I like being able to choke up and not worry about a flipper tab being in the way. So I like that. However, like most front flippers, when you go to disengage the lock, make sure your finger is back past the front flipper portion of the blade, because otherwise you'll just, when you go to disengage it, it won't close because your finger's holding it in place. So you just go like that. I don't want to cut myself. Very good. And there it drops into place. So I might as well go over the specs now. Blade length is just a hair over 3.5 inches. Handle length is 4.43 inches. The blade stock thickness is 0.15 inches. or 3.9 millimeters. The handle thickness is 0.54 inches, and if you include the pocket clip, it is 0.67 inches. The weight of it is 3.7 ounces. Size comparisons. So you got the Rat Model 1, line up the pivots. The Rat Model 2, line up the pivots. There you go. So, what do I not like about the knife? Might as well start with that. Well, actually, you know what? I'll start with the things I do like about it. I like the action. I like the design. It looks really cool. I did not think I would like a hole in the handle. I don't like holes in handles, usually. I will actually not buy knives when there's a hole in the handle. And that's what actually made me not want to buy this knife. I skipped the pre-order because of this hole. I didn't want to take part in it. I said I don't like holes in the handle. I don't like the look of it. I don't want it. But seeing this in person, I think I changed my mind on that. At least to a certain extent. I don't mind a hole in the handle as long as it's the whole way through the knife. If that makes sense. Like there's a hole, the exact same holes on both sides. So when you look at it, you don't see any ugly milling or anything. I think what I don't like is when you look in the hole and then you see the lock side of the knife and you see some ugly milling lines and stuff like that. I just find that doesn't look right. So when it's like this and you can see right through, yeah, it's pretty cool. The only thing I don't like about the hole is that dust does get in here. I'm not really afraid of anything scratching it. I know it's a possibility that something could scratch the blade in there, but I don't carry anything in my pocket other than my wallet that's with the knife, so nothing's really going to happen there. But it's just the pocket lint dust and stuff gets on the blade. So whenever I open it, I just kind of have to dust it off. Not a big deal, but it's just something that usually doesn't happen. Although, you know what, to be fair, dust can sometimes get inside from this way too on the blade. So it's really not a big deal, but it's just there's more dust than usual on the blade. So the action's good, the design is good, even the hole, that's fine. The ergos, I'll get into this more in a second, but ergos are excellent. It feels really good. I like this in hand. It feels really nice. There's jimping up here. Now the jimping could probably go a little bit farther up, but there's enough jimping here that it holds my thumb in place. And it does work. It's not super aggressive, but it does work. So the jimping's good. Even though it's a very smooth knife, it's not super slippery. It does feel good in hand. So ergos are good. It's comfortable in hand. Some people are complaining. I actually, you know, some people, a couple people that I'm aware of. I saw a couple videos. There's not many videos on YouTube about this yet, but some of the videos I've seen, just a couple, have said that they don't like the pocket clip, and I tend to agree with them. It doesn't bother me that much because I'm left-handed, so when I'm cutting, the pocket clip's not against my hand. But holding it right-handed, like you can feel the pocket clip. I don't feel like it would be a crazy hot spot for me, but I can feel it in my hand, in the palm of my hand. The biggest issue with the pocket clip is that, I'll zoom in just so I never know how to zoom in anymore. You can see right here, this tip is very flat. It's pointed upwards. Focus. It's pointed upwards, you know, but it's very, I should say square. It's not flat, it's very square. It's not sharp, but it is pokey. And you can see the shape of it here. It does have a little poke, a little point to it. It's not sharp, again, it's not sharp. It's not going to cut you or stab you or anything, but it's a little pokey. And as contoured as everything else is on this, I'll zoom in again. Hey, why not? As contoured as everything else is on this knife. All the edges are contoured. Even in the hole, it's all contoured. Everything's very rounded, like most of Sharp by Design's designs. Everything's rounded really nice. It feels really good in hand. But then they leave square edges on the pocket clip. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why not round that off a little bit? Anyways, it's a head scratcher, but it's not a big deal. But for certain hands, it could be, I could see it being a hot spot. So that's a little unfortunate. And it's also up kind of high. I mean, it needs to be up high because of that hole, but it is up near the top of the spine of the handle. So that might cause more issues too. The only other thing that I don't like about this knife is the lock bar insert. Now, I haven't really seen it or heard any complaints about this, so this could just be a me problem. But I'll zoom in again. You can see the cutout here, the little milled out area for your thumb to go in. But look at how far look at the width of this lock bar insert. There's like a little raised area here for your thumb to grip when you're opening it. A lot of knives have that, but it's a lot shorter than this milled section. So I feel like they could have made it a little bit longer. It would have been a lot easier to access it and to disengage the lock. Now, not that it's hard to disengage the lock. There's not like a lot of pressure on the lock bar or anything like that, but it's uncomfortable. It's not hard to disengage, it's just uncomfortable to disengage. I find it pokes into my thumb a lot. Now my thumbs are the skin on the tip of my thumb is irritated quite bad. So it's very sensitive due to psoriasis. So again, this could just be a me problem. But I just find it's just very uncomfortable. Like, it's not too bad if you disengage the lock every once in a while, but if I'm fidgeting with the knife a lot, it really bothers the tip of my thumb. And it's not comfortable. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world to do. So I feel like there could have been improvements done there. A lot of the times I'll even just go down below the little tab here. I'll just go below it and I'll just hit that here, just the titanium, and it works fine, and it's not as hard on my thumb. So that's the only real complaint I have of it. This area here could be better designed, I feel. But other than that, love the knife. The detent on this, it's got I think there's a name to this design of detent. It's not a regular detent ball. It's a different setup. So it makes a little bit different of a sound. I don't know if that comes across on the camera or not. It's got a really nice sound. It's really satisfying to listen to that. I like that. The reverse flick on this, going back to action, the reverse flick on this is fantastic. This is probably one of the most satisfying reverse flicks that I've felt in my collection. It's not the sliciest knife out there. It is a bit thicker blade stock, but it does cut well. It cut through cardboard the very best, but it's just not super slicey. It's not a laser beam by any means, but it does cut well. So it is a good knife for EDC use. It carries well. There's no pocket pecker on here, so it feels good in the pocket. It fits nicely over in the corner of the pocket, so I can slide my hand in past it no problem. I didn't mention this before, but these inlays, you can't really feel them. You can feel them a little tiny bit, but they are extremely flush with the handle. Certain places, you can't feel them at all, but right around here I can feel that little curved edge right there. It almost looks like an integral knife, but it's not, but it almost looks like it. You can kind of see that little line right there. That's where the two halves of the handle go together. It's just held together by the pivot and the screw that goes in the pocket clip. So very simple construction. However, with this little line here that I said about where the two halves meet, on my Evo Typhoon that I had, I couldn't feel that line. On this one, I can feel it a little bit. Not a lot, but I can feel a little bit. Maybe they do that on purpose so that people don't mistake it for an integral and get disappointed. I'm not sure. Just wanted to point that out. What I'm going to do now is, this isn't a review by any means. This is just an overview. But I'm going to carry this for a couple months, unless I sell it. But I'm not planning on selling this one. But I'm going to carry this for a couple months, and then I'm going to be back. This will be back again with a full-on review, and I'll see how things go then. But for right now, that should do. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.